Casias Media.
WTF Wednesday looks a little different this week.
Yep. We're giving you a little more insight into our creepy corner with a fun chat we did with our friend Dani from Dani After Dark over on YouTube.
Somehow, Dani convinced us to go live on her YouTube channel last week. And honestly, we only did it because she is one of our favorites.
We lovingly call her Dani from Salem. No, she's not actually from Salem, more like the Boston area, but close enough. And she knows so much about it, which makes her super cool in our books.
Dani hosts weekly live interactive shows covering true crime cases, true crime book reviews, and interviews content creators like us each week. In addition, she hosts a weekly live True Crime and Chill, where she discusses current true crime cases in the news.
Make sure to go subscribe to her on YouTube and follow her on socials. We'll list all of the ways to support Dani in the show notes.
Before we give it over to our chat with Dani this week, we want to share one of our reviews. If you want to hear your review on the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating and write us a quick review, and you might just get a shout out on a future episode.
From Unsolved Couple Pod on Apple Podcast. This podcast is awesome. The podcasts, the hosts, equals chef's kiss. 10 out of 10.
Aw, thanks. We love hearing from listeners, so if you can take 30 seconds to be cool like Unsolved Couple, we will appreciate you forever.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Weird True Crime. We post pictures to go along with the episodes, behind-the-scenes looks, and memes. You don't want to miss it.
Now that all of the housekeeping is out of the way, it's time to turn it over to Dani. We hope you enjoy this true crime chat and get a little more insight into what makes us, us.
Until next time, stay safe.
And make good choices. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, and welcome to Dani After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight, I have two very special guests. I have my friends from the Weird True Crime podcast, and totally rocking the shirt. If you are not familiar with the Weird True Crime podcast, it is the ultimate podcast for fans of bizarre, lesser known, and jaw-dropping true crime stories. They dive into ethical, victim-focused storytelling with family interviews that bring humanity to the forefront of the narrative. Every episode of Weird True Crime unravels mysterious cases, unsolved crimes, and shocking events that you won't believe are real. Most importantly, Gina and Amber from Weird True Crime are celebrating a little bit of a milestone. They just got their booth at CrimeCon Vegas. So we're going to talk all about that, but without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them on. Gina and Amber, hello.
Hi, Dani.
Hello.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to move myself down so that you guys are next to each other because that's the better way to do that. So before we kind of dive in and kind of hear a little bit about you guys. So I actually first met you guys at the True Crime Podcast Festival because our booths were right like behind each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was
pretty
fun.
cool. And I will say they were excellent neighbors to have being next to. That was my first booth. And of course, I mean, here we have Amber there in the dark. So to have met her in Danvers, which is right next to Salem, she's like Salem vibes. Salem.
You will forever be like our Salem queen. Like I know you're not in Salem, but you will forever be that person for us because that's where we met you and we got to spend that time with you in one of our favorite places and experience that with you. So you will always be Dani from Salem forever.
Yeah. I've been known as many different things in life, some not so good names, but that's the best connotation I've ever had. But So for those who aren't familiar with you guys in your podcast, why don't you each tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and so on and so forth.
Oh,
You want me
don't
to
look at
start?
me like that. You go
Okay.
first. This is all your shindig.
This
You
is what we
started
always
it.
do. Eye each other, figure out who wants to talk first. So we're both from Austin. Well, I'm from Austin originally, born and raised. And True Crime was started basically, I wouldn't say on a whim. It was like I finally got up the courage to do it in August of 2022. So we're almost at the 4-year mark. But I put out like 6 episodes, didn't tell anybody I started a podcast because I was terrified of what people were going to think. I thought, people were like, okay, who are you, this mid-30s mom starting a podcast? Like, this is ridiculous. And so I was so afraid of being judged that I didn't say anything. And I put this little comment out on Facebook, like, if anybody cares, I did this thing. And of course, Amber saw it and texted me, like, what do you mean you started a podcast? How did you start a podcast and not tell me about it? This is so cool. This is something that I have always wanted to do, but I would never do it by myself. I was like, okay, yeah. And then about a week goes by and I text her and I'm like, you want to just come do it with me? So, we can both do this together. I'm like, I don't want to do it by myself. I don't think anybody wants to hear me talk for a solid 45 minutes straight, just me. And the rest is kind of history. And here we are, almost 4 years later.
So you guys, just so people know, this wasn't just like Amber responding wasn't just like this random girl on Facebook that you met out one night that like you friended and it's like, gee, we haven't spoken since then 10 years ago and now she's responding. Like you guys go way back. You guys have been friends for so long. So can you guys elaborate a little bit about that too? Just so people know, like you guys have a long history before you guys ever did podcasting together.
Yeah, so we met in middle school. I moved to Austin from Dripping Springs and Podunk town to suburbs. Met her at school. We hit it off. Our houses, the funniest thing was our houses that we grew up in were the same floor plan, but mirrored. So it's like every time we walked over to each other's house, like, oh, I know exactly where to
One street
go.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah, literally one street apart. The house that I'm living in now, her parents' street dead ends into my house. So yeah, we've kept in touch. I mean, she went off to college, did all of those things. I married my high school sweetheart. Our lives kind of took different directions, but we always seemed to kind of like come back to each other somehow. So when I ended up getting knocked up, and found out like 3 months, I'm married, this is all legit and everything. And she's getting married to Corey and find out, she's about 3 months behind me with her first child. So our oldest children are almost 3 months to the day apart.
That's
so
cool.
We to keep our sanity, we would like have mommy play dates where we'd stick the squishy little babies together, call it a play date just so we could have like adult interaction. Yeah. So yeah, no, we've known each other for a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very, very Amber and Gina coded for her to be like, you would start something like this and just not tell anybody about it. And it felt very natural to me because Amber and I do have such a close friendship, but we're very different people. Like we're so similar in so many ways, but obviously we're very different people. And so bringing on her sense of humor and personality to kind of counterbalance my more serious, anxious personality, it's like the perfect blend. Like we work off of each other so well. We kind of pick each other up when the other one's going through it. And it's been a blessing. Obviously you run into times where like, I don't know if I can keep doing this at this point because life, and we're both moms, and Amber also works, and it's a lot trying to balance a podcast and life and parenting and everything else that comes with it. But at this point, we're in it too far to walk away from it now.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Well, I will say you do have some fellow podcast support in here. Look, we got Kylie.
Hi, Kylie.
We love Kylie, Primetime Crime. So in regards to creating a podcast. So you picked a true crime podcast. For each of you, tell us a little bit, like, have you always been into true crime? If so, was there a certain case growing up or one even in the past several years, something that's just always stuck with you, if you each can kind of speak to that?
Well, for me, like my grandparents watched Unsolved Mysteries, Rescue 911, so that was kind of like always like, in my ear. And I felt myself just drawn to it. Little known fact, like one thing that I wanted to do was be an undertaker. I wanted to work in a morgue, but then I realized I don't have the cojones for that, so I didn't, and I became a mom instead. So I don't know that there's really just one case that I could say specifically has stuck with me that's driven it. It's always been kind of like compounded with each other, like Casey Anthony, for crying out loud. We were not young, but younger when all of that went down, and it was just mind-boggling. And all of the lack of information or the misinformation trying to. I mean, I found myself doing research about all of these cases that I would hear in the news because I didn't believe what they were saying.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
I
love that
would,
you point that out. I love that you
and
point that out.
you're not wrong. I'll say, I mean, you're smarter than me in that aspect. I think growing up, I watched a lot of it with my mom. Also, Unsolved Mysteries, 48 Hours, Dateline, all of the standards. It was basically like we had weekly dates, like that tonight we're going to watch these shows together, and it's just what we did, and it became so ingrained in me that when podcasts became a thing, I probably, like many other people, started with Serial, and it snowballed from there. And I just took in so much true crime content and listened to so many different podcasts. And I went to school for journalism and then never really got to do anything with it. And then became mom and was a stay-at-home mom for a really long time. And I was like, all of these podcasters don't have the background that I have. They're not doing real research. Like it was very easy to pick apart things that they were saying that weren't necessarily true. And I didn't really like the way they were telling the stories because true crime became so much about entertainment. And so you sit there and you listen to people talk about the worst day of somebody's lives, but they're cracking jokes and then they're going on these little side tangents. And it's like, you can't sit there and talk about something so tragic that somebody went through and then go on a side tangent about something that happened to you like 2 days ago. Like it's just, it felt gross to me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I decided to just actually start doing it. And then once we got into it and started meeting the families that had actually lived it and gone through these things, it became even more important to make sure that we were telling these stories accurately in the way they should be told, and making sure that we're not putting out any misinformation out there or adding to that confusion that we see so much with true crime cases. Because to Amber's point, there's so much misinformation put out there from like one news source to the other, and it's so hard to know what's actually true with a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you bring up those points because I mean, the three of us being into true crime for as long as we have, as kids growing up and kind of seeing, especially the creation of podcasts, if you will, and then kind of how that true crime podcasting started to kind of where it is now. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done, but to see the shift where I would like to think the community is really on the right path of being more victim focused, and those types of podcasts or entertainment sources where, like you said, you're talking about the worst day of somebody's life. And at the end of the day, we have the luxury of, when we're done doing an episode, closing down our computer and going about our day. For these families, that's their life. That's their every second of every day. And that's something that, as content creators, we can't forget that and lose sight of that.
No, absolutely. And I think that made me think of CrimeCon. I feel like CrimeCon's come a long way from how it used to be portrayed. As I always explain it as the Comic-Con of true crime, because that's kind of what it was when it started, right? It was a lot of sensationalism and outlandishness and people showing up in costumes and things like that. And I feel like within the past few years, as more and more ethical true crime content creators come onto the scene and are showing people the importance of being an ethical and empathetic person is when you're dealing with cases like this. I feel like the narrative around CrimeCon has changed drastically. Like you mentioned, this was our first year having a table at CrimeCon after several years of trying.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. And it was very refreshing to see so many other creators that were there for the same reasons that we were. Like, I felt like a majority of them were similar to us in the reasons why they do what they do, as opposed to, I guess, what I expected, which was not that. I expected more sensationalist content creators and things like that, and that's not what it was. So that was really refreshing to see, and I think it helps because we can go back and say that's not what this is now. Like, they're moving in the right direction, and it shows a real push for true crime to become not just something we binge listen to and then forget about as soon as we turn off the podcast.
Yeah. So let's give you guys your moment and where it's due. What was it like for you guys to be at CrimeCon and to have your booth there and to, meet other content creators, to meet people who, listen to your show or maybe were new to your show? Like, what was that like for each of you?
So for me, it was surreal. Like, when I first joined Gina on the podcast, going to CrimeCon was her ultimate dream. That was the goal for her. And I was just like, okay, cool. Let's do it. Whatever. We've done a few other festivals. We did the one in Albuquerque, Boston, first one in Austin. And so I think, honestly, had we not done those, I would have lost it at CrimeCon. I would have been huddled in the corner, rocking back and forth, like pulling my hair out. I mean, it was amazing, but also overwhelming. So many people,
Yeah.
so much walking. My God.
It's because Vegas, yeah, it was an interesting location choice.
The layout was interesting, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, we met so many amazing. I have a stack of papers from, families, or not even really family of a victim, but somebody who's got, ties to a certain case that really wants good coverage and to be talked about in the right way. I've got a stack that I have not been able to go through yet and follow up just because life. But I think that's amazing that we have those opportunities to reach out and to continue doing and spreading what we're doing. But
yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. To piggyback on what you said, honestly, I think my favorite part was just meeting people and we had so many people come up to us and like, okay, so what makes you weird? Tell us about you. Or like, I'm weird. I don't know how many times we heard that. And I feel like we connected so quickly with so many different people on different levels. And as soon as we started our spiel, we got into this routine where we had the spiel down. Like, I would say half of it, Amber would say half of it. It was awesome. But as soon as we told people that we actually work with the families of the cases we cover, they were like, oh, okay, that's amazing. Like, that's so refreshing to hear. And that makes me want to tune in and makes me appreciate what you're doing more, because that's still not that common. And overall, I feel like we know a lot of people that do that, but I feel like as far as the bigger podcasts and true crime content that people take in, it's not that common overall. And it was just so nice to meet people and connect on different levels and have them walk away as like new listeners, or sometimes even people that did listen to us, which is very strange because we were tiny fish in a big pond there. And to have people come up and be like, I listened to you. We had a lady ask us to sign her badge, and that was so weird, like good weird, but
I forgot my name.
yeah.
I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. It was very surreal to meet people that listen to you in the real world, because it's very easy to forget that you're actually talking to people. Like, because we just sit here in our little bubble and record and edit and put it out there. But the biggest thing in podcasting, I feel like, is the engagement and hearing from the people that are listening. Because sometimes it can feel like you're kind of just shouting into a void. And so to meet people that actually listen to you and talk to you about the episodes that they've heard, or, you know, the dumb criminals we've talked about, or whatever it is, was just surreal. And it made this feel much more real and like worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you guys, I will say, like, being able to kind of roam around CrimeCon a lot, and of course being friends with you guys, and like, you know, always doing my loops around and checking in and seeing how everything's going. You guys were busy. I feel like every time I walked by, there were people there chatting with you guys, which was so cool to see. Like, you guys worked it. But let's quickly just give credit where credit is due. There were times when you were not at your booth, and there were two gentlemen holding it down. And in all honesty, at one point I sneakily came up from down one of the wings, and I'm like, I'm just gonna ease on by and eavesdrop and see how much they butcher the pitch of your podcast, so I can go back and be like, ladies, they were horrible. They were amazing. They were amazing.
They haven't let us.
Well, I feel like a jerk. So shout out to your husbands, who also came out that weekend to not only support you both, but to support your podcast and give you guys those moments of taking a break at CrimeCon. They crushed it.
And they haven't forgotten it either.
They haven't forgotten it either.
I mean, but they did their jobs well, because of course the first time that we decided to venture away from the table was when I guess there was a break in the panels and everything. So the creator row was just swarmed with people. And of course, that's when we decided to go eat, because my husband was like, yeah, y'all take a break. We got it. Just go eat. And then we get like SOS text messages. We're like, well, at this point, we're like an hour walk away, even though we're still in the building. So sorry, hold it down. But there were a lot of people that came back that had talked to them when we weren't there, and then came back to talk to us later. So they did their jobs well, for sure. No complaints.
Wow, I was not aware of that. Props to them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Good job, Ben.
Billy did do a lot of the work too, though. Yeah. I mean, we'd be standing there. Our skeleton, our logo.
That is one of my questions. Who is Billy?
Billy the Skelly. So when Gina created the podcast and didn't tell me, when I looked it up and everything, the first thing I noticed was the logo. It's simple. Weird true crime. Got this cute little skeleton in the middle of it, black and white. Like, could it be more up my alley? And like I told her, I remember distinctly, that logo is amazing. The skeleton is awesome. Never change it. So when I joined, we started talking. We're like, you know, he is going to be an iconic part. Like, we have to name him. So one of my all-time favorite movies, I don't know if this is going to date me or whatever it's going to do. It's now a classic. Yeah, it's going to do. Scream is one of my all-time favorite movies. Original, the very first Scream. So he's Billy for Billy Loomis, because little Miss over there had a huge crush on
Still
Skeet,
do.
So still do.
I was going to say, who didn't have a crush on him?
I know. No?
I was more drawn to Matthew Lillard, not because of like he's like overly attractive, but it's that he cracked me up, and like that's the fastest way to my heart.
Yeah, but you're right. Billy and the name of the podcast did a majority of the work for us.
It was so funny. We'd be standing there and people were walking by and we had that huge banner above our heads, above our table. And we'd see somebody kind of like glance at us and then like look up at the banner. You could see them read the name. And then as soon as their eyes landed on Billy, they made a beeline to us. I was like, yep, Billy doing all the work here.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Kylie had a comment here. Had a friend tell me today she listened to another true crime podcast, so not naming them, and felt they were disrespectful in their storytelling. So, of course, recommended all of yours to her.
Oh, thanks, Kylie.
Thank you, Carlene. That just excellent point kind of goes to what you guys were both saying, that about the ethical storytelling. And again, I say story, but it's their lives.
It's their story.
It is their story. Yeah. That's the way we like to say it. We always tell the families, we want to make sure we're telling your loved one's story the way you want it to be told, because you cannot talk about a victim or a missing person without also talking about their families. And we have talked to several people who have lived these things and then go on to hear podcasts or other true crime, sources talk about their loved one and their family, and they're giving misinformation, or they're victim blaming, or they're putting out unnecessary information about the family members that then impacts the investigation or the way the victim is looked at, when that information is not relevant to the story. And it's just because they want to sensationalize it. And all that does, when a family has to re-listen to their loved one's story when they're not aware of it, like when they just get taken aback by something like that, all it does is it opens those wounds again.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing we want to do when we're talking about these things that need attention. We don't want to do unnecessary harm to anyone, which is why we make sure that people know where we want to share their stories.
Yeah. I remember when we were at CrimeCon, my friend Anthony DiMaria, who's Jay Sebring's nephew, who recently released a book, Jay Sebring Cutting to the Truth, and his uncle was murdered in the Manson murders. I mean, and that's going back to 1969, and everything that you're saying right there, as you were saying that, I'm like, that's what Anthony and his family's been through since 1969. And I know this was his first time ever at a CrimeCon, and I felt like I'm like taking him under my wing, and I made sure to introduce him to all of you. And I was like, my girls are ethical content creators. Like, I want you to meet all of them and know that they're, for all the shit that you guys have been through and that other families go through, like, there are good people trying to do amazing work and portray victims and their families in the best light to make a difference. So tried to do that with all of you. Gave you all a good shout out.
You're the best.
So when we were at Beyond the Crime in April, a lot of us, in our little group chat, got to do live shows while we were there. And I was able to sit in yours, and I was blown away at your live show because it was a story that I'd heard, I'd seen on other, television specials. But when you guys told it, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And it's because you've talked with the victim's family and you had all this extra like stuff that, why is that not being put out there? And I know I'm being vague right now, but can you guys talk a little bit about what that case was and the family's role in connecting with you and getting factual information out there?
Okay, so full disclosure, my mother brought that case to my attention. She saw the interrogation video on YouTube and said, Amber, you have to watch this. And so I was in San Angelo, Texas, sitting on a motel bed, and I'm watching this interrogation video by myself, and just seeing red. Couldn't believe it. It was the episode that we did about that was just about the interrogation video. So we didn't reach out to the family at that point. We were just covering the interrogation video and, kind of touching lightly on it. But after I watched that, I told Gina, I go, I'm writing the next script I've got the next case covered. I'm not going to tell you a thing about it. So in that interrogation video episode that we did, her reactions are entirely genuine. She had no idea. So that just like from that interrogation video, that Ryan's story has lived rent free in my head since. I think about him constantly, what he went through, what his family went through, what they're still kind of going through.
What is his full name?
Ryan Waller.
Thank you.
Yes, the episode was about Ryan Waller and his girlfriend Heather Kwan. So some time goes by after we did the interrogation video, and Gina sends me a message and says, Amber, you're not going to believe this. Don Waller, Ryan's dad, commented on our YouTube video of the interrogation episode. And just all he said was, thank you so much for telling my son's story.
Wow.
And I got chills just like talking about that. I was like, oh my, like, okay, so clearly we did something right. Like when I was researching for it and trying to find background information, there wasn't much. Like Ryan's story did not get the coverage it deserved. There was very little information. And so, after he left that comment on the video, Gina and I got to talking. We're like, why don't we reach out to him and see if he'd want to do like an exclusive with us? And I was like, yes, please say less. Let's do this. So Gina usually handles the advocacy cases because I'm the scarier looking one of the two of us. She's sweet and wholesome and whatever. No, but truthfully, it really is easier for a family to have one point of contact with us instead of like having to worry about reaching out to both of us or something. So, she handled that. She reached out to Don, got in contact with him. And the next thing I know, we've got this, it was a two-part episode exclusive working with Dawn about that and the things that we learned. Like I know we've kind of said something, but it made it so much more real. Like, and it made me even angrier. Like these little facts that you find out from working with the family. Like Ryan was a freaking guitar prodigy. He could hear a song once and then he could play it on the guitar. Like he was a musical genius. And just like, you don't know that stuff because in the media, anything that was ever said about his story was all either focused around the interrogation video or just sensationalized or just vague as all hell. And so that's we're not done with Ryan's story either. Like he, as I said, he lives rent free in my head. I'm never going to forget his face. I'm never going to forget his story. And the day that I finally get to meet Dawn in person, I'm not a huggy person. You know this. Like no touchy. I will hug that man so hard when I finally get to meet him. Yeah.
It'll happen. Yeah. And I mean, so this happened Christmas of 2006 when there was the home invasion. And Ryan and his girlfriend were shot. Unfortunately, Heather was killed in the home invasion. Ryan survived and was then put in the back of a police car for 4 hours and then interrogated for another hour before they actually looked at his face and realized he had severe injuries. So he had been shot twice in the head. He ended up losing most of his left frontal lobe. He lost his left eye. His jaw was broken by the cops when they got into his house that night because he was out of sorts because he had a freaking brain injury. And instead of working with him to explain the situation and see what was going on, they immediately treated him like a suspect and threw him to the ground. When they threw him to the ground, his arms got pinned under him. So they did what they call like a pressure point technique where they put pressure on your jaw, which makes you kind of move so they can get your arms out from under you. Well, they broke his jaw when they did this because he was not fighting them at all. And Dawn did not know that that's how Ryan's jaw was broken until several years later when they were doing discovery, when they were trying to sue the Phoenix Police Department for the mishandling of Ryan's case and the way he was treated that night, because there's a lot. The Phoenix Police Department did a lot of things in Ryan's case to try to distance themselves from the injuries that he sustained that night. including changing the date of Heather's death from December 25th, 2006 to December 23rd, 2006. They also, I feel pretty confident in saying they convinced one of the main witnesses, who was the wife and mother of the suspects, to give her statement and say that the invasion happened on the 23rd instead of the 25th. And the revised autopsy and the statement came out around the same time. And Heather's family never believed the revised date, and her headstone still says her day of death was December 25th, 2006. Dawn spent 3.5 years building a case against the Phoenix Police Department while going through a trial to put these suspects behind bars, which is a whole other story. And 2 or 3 weeks before the trial was set to take place for the civil suit, it was dismissed because the Phoenix Police Department had an expert say that those 6 hours did not make a difference in the outcome of Ryan's injuries, because the Phoenix Police Department had also been saying that he had already been shot 2 days before that. And we're still trying to see if we can get some sort of justice for him. But the Phoenix Police Department is known to be very crooked, and we've learned a lot of other things since we've covered Ryan's case. And like Amber said, we're not done with his story yet.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those cases where I feel anybody who's watching and listening, if you can't offhand pinpoint the name, if you look up this case, it's going to ring a bell and you're going to be like, oh, that's the case. Because I feel like so many people have seen the parts of the interrogation, yeah. But I then encourage everyone to think of, when you finally piece it together, think of what you think you know about the case, and then go listen to Gina and Amber's episode with his father and hear all of the things that are just infuriating. I sat there at the Beyond the Crime just listening, and I'm like, what? And then another thing, and I'm like, it can't get any worse. And it's atrocious. Mm-hmm. And the fact that his father had to go, it's just mind-boggling. I encourage everyone to listen to that for sure. But to have his father reach out to you guys and really trust you to tell his story, I think that speaks volumes to you both and your character and who you are doing this podcast, that you guys are genuine. I mean, I know that, but you're doing the right thing by victims and their families. And I think people, if you haven't listened to Weird True Crime, I'm OCD. I always say start at episode 1, but go to this, because this is a case that most people know, and you'll be able to hear the real thing. So
we learned so much that we did not know. Because like Amber said, there's nothing out there, and a lot of the information is not correct. There are so many Reddit threads about Ryan's case that is just nonsense and misinformation. And being able to get the facts straight from the source and see a lot of the police files and the depositions and the pictures of Ryan, it's just, and this is one of those things where, like you said, there are a lot of people that know of Ryan. They probably don't really understand why. And it's only because they've seen snippets of this interrogation video because it's gone so viral. But that's what's sad, right? Because they just watch like a 2-minute clip and go, oh, that's crazy. And then they move on and they never really think about it again. And you're talking about an 18-year-old kid's life that was changed like that. And his family is still 20 years later dealing with the outcome of that,
and still fighting for justice for their loved one,
who is no longer with us. He passed away in 2016 due to his injuries that he sustained that night. So
when you cover cases on your channel, is it how common is it where families, I guess the background, do families typically reach out to you, or do you go to cover a case and reach out to them? Like how is the process work for the episodes and cases that you cover?
So for a little while there, whenever we were doing cases, we weren't, we were babies. We weren't reaching out to the families to talk to them, but we've learned, we've gotten some amazing connections. Haley Gray, we've, the booths and everything that we've had at the different festivals, we've had families approach us there, or we've had other creators say, hey, I've worked with this family, can you, contact them, they want more coverage.
Mm.
So we've come a long way, and we get our contacts from many, many different sources. I know we got a bunch when we were in CrimeCon that we've got to follow up with.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah,
both. It's
yeah.
both. I would say, and it's all pretty organic, because of the kind of community that we have. And we do have so many advocate friends, Dani, that you're in those group chats. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm working with this family. They're really trying to get more awareness about their loved one's case. Who has the bandwidth to work with them? Who wants their information to reach out to talk to them? And so it's a lot of that. It's really it's a community driven thing, and it's beautiful. And I love that if we meet families, the families we work with, we can say, I know that you haven't been treated well by the media previously, and you've worked with other content creators that haven't been the best to you, but let me introduce you to this rather large group of very ethical creators who want to do nothing but support you in whatever way they can.
Yeah.
So it's really great to be able to do that and to be part of that kind of community.
That is, yeah, it's pretty cool to see that, because a family cannot, maybe thinking if they're reaching out to one of us in the group chat to, have one person tell their story, and then if it's like, we got like 40 people in this group chat that would probably be willing to help you out too. Let's just blast you. Like, it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Has there been a case that you've covered so far, besides the one that we just discussed, that has really stuck with you? That again is like your day to day. It sounds like, Amber, we've kind of heard that one for you, but if there's a different one, by all means, let us know. But Gina, is there one for you that you've covered that just to this day just sticks with you for some reason?
I mean, there's the current one we're working on. So the Melissa Casias case. So when we were in Albuquerque, we met this PI who was working with this family out of Taos, and he very graciously introduced us to them. And their loved one, Melissa Casias, went missing out of Taos, New Mexico a year ago tomorrow, actually. So she went missing on June 26th, 2025. And when we met the family, she had been missing just about 10 months, I think. And her case had been completely mishandled by the New Mexico State Police, and her sister and her sister's daughter and her parents and that side of her family had just quietly been gathering information, doing the detective work, doing their due diligence to find out any information they could about what could have possibly happened to her. Like, they did all of the legwork in this case. It was not the New Mexico State Police, it was the family.
Wow.
And that side of her family. There was a lot of discourse because her husband had been saying from the beginning that she left on her own. She left with a boyfriend. She was in Washington State. She was in Alaska. She was in Hawaii. She was in, you name it. That's where she was. And he knew where she was, but he wasn't going to tell the cops. And he was very difficult from the start. And the family got there with the intention of helping her husband in whatever way they could to find Melissa. And they immediately saw several red flags that made them believe that something else was going on. And that's when they started taking notes and they started recording phone calls and they started talking to witnesses and doing their own digging. And we came in because they got to a point where they had been handling it in such a PC way against another side of the family that had been so outspoken about the fact that she left on her own and they knew it. They needed help being able to put their information out there. And that's where we came in to help them do that with police reports and witness statements and recordings. And I'm saying 70 plus pages of documentation of behavior and things that raised major red flags about her case. And we put out that 3-part series on Melissa's story right before CrimeCon. And then on May 30th, while we were in CrimeCon, we got the devastating news that she had been found not about 7 or so miles from her house, deceased. She was deceased. And now her missing case has turned into a totally different kind of case where we're still trying to find out what exactly happened to her. The family has not been told a lot of information. Luckily, they are doing their due diligence when it comes to forensic testing and everything that they should be doing on their end to get all of the determinations that they need to hopefully find a ruling in this case. But it's still very suspicious, and there's a lot of things that we don't know. And we talk to them every day still, and it's ongoing. And we just talked to them this morning, actually, and we'll be doing probably like a 2-part update within the next couple weeks about some information that we had, but we couldn't necessarily release at the time of our original episodes, and then updates about what we do know since she was found. And this is a case that has become so close to me, particularly just because I think I spent all of May just looking at court records and being 100% invested in this. But Melissa's family has become very dear to both of us, and we want to do whatever we can to help, whatever that means, whether that's helping them reach out to other creators to help them share their side of the story, looking through records, whatever it is they need from us, we'll be here to do it. So
thank you both for doing that and for doing what you do, and for, they're very lucky to have you both in their corner. They really are. What made me, like, as you were saying that, like a little like gut punch was when you were saying, her family's, doing their due diligence in regards to keeping track of everything. And it's just like a part of me is like, they shouldn't have to.
no.
They haven't
Like,
been
all
able
the things
to.
they're going through, like.
Yeah, they
Sorry,
haven't really
Amber.
been able to properly grieve or process. There was, Jasmine had said this morning that, there was the unknown for months about if Melissa was alive, if she was dead, just that kind of agony that she was experiencing. And then now with the discovery of her, knowing that she's passed, they can't properly grieve and process that they have officially lost a loved one, because they are still having to be so heavily invested in doing the work themselves to keep the case ongoing. It's
And make sure
heartbreaking.
that
Things are handled
the
correctly.
authorities are doing their jobs the way they should be doing them. And that shouldn't be on the family. And unfortunately, this is not the first time that we've seen this. We see this time and time again, which is not something that I ever thought about when we got into this line of work. And then we start talking to the families, and you see this same occurrence over and over and over again in different ways, whether it's a missing person case or an unsolved case or a cold case that happened 30 years ago. It's the same thing. And we also see over and over again where the families find outside resources that are willing to help and willing to partner with the police departments, and the police departments flat out say no.
Yep.
You know, and that's the same thing that happened in this case. And it's so infuriating that it's just time and time again.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point that it's something that we see and hear more frequently than we should. And it's scary because it's not even just, for example, the LA, police, or I'll even say my own Massachusetts state troopers right now is getting a bad rap, rightfully so. But it's not just there, it's everywhere. And it could easily be us or our loved ones. And families are going through enough with, the questions that they have. And, again, if something's unsolved or someone's missing, there's so much that they need to process and to take on the investigator role because law enforcement isn't doing their part. We should all be livid, and this should not be the norm. It just shouldn't be the norm. And sadly, it is.
No. And I've talked to families before that are so thankful for ethical creators like us that want to advocate and keep their stories alive, because a lot of the time that's the only thing that keeps those stories in front of those police departments is that pressure. Mm-hmm. When you have enough people that put out there that this police department did not handle this case the way it should, they don't want to look bad, And so that's really the best thing we can do is keep putting pressure on those groups to find the answers, because in a lot of the time they're right in front of you. The answers are right in front of you.
It's so infuriating. We have a couple of comments here, some nice ones to pass on. Rich BTX, thank you all for what you do.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Mr. Beckham, you guys have not been able to meet Mr. Beckham. He's my weekend co-host. He was at CrimeCon Denver. He was supposed to go to CrimeCon Vegas, couldn't make it. He says he's the self-proclaimed king of CrimeCon. That's another story for another day. But hello, Beckham. I'm glad you made it here. I told him to come and watch you guys. Like, you haven't met them yet, but come support.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Karen Diamond here says hello. She is in Australia.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Karen.
And then we have James, who is from Dubai. So
awesome.
Wide range of people here.
Amazing. Dubai,
Wolf
really?
is an OG. Me and him have known each other since before I even started a channel back in another chat. So thank you, Wolf, for joining. Wolf is awesome. So in regards to any upcoming things that you guys have for your podcast, I know you said some upcoming episodes in regards to the latest case that you're covering, but is there any other things that viewers can kind of look forward to with what's going on with anything with your podcast or cases that you'll be looking at? I know, like Amber, you said you have a stack from CrimeCon you still need to look through.
Yeah. See?
And if it's a top secret, you don't have to say. You can just say, subscribe and find out.
I don't know how much we can say at this point. I would say
I don't know either.
In regards, and it's mainly about Ryan's story. Like I said, we're not done with that. We can't really go into more of why we're not done with it. But you'll definitely be hearing more about Ryan in one way or another. As far as other big cases, I mean, we're always working on something, and we have so many families that we need to reach out to and touch base so we can help them however they need as well. And otherwise,
dumb criminals.
Dumb criminals. Yeah, always a dumb criminal.
There's a plethora, We just did a Florida man part 2 episode. That was fun. I need to do like a Ohio or Texas because we're contenders up there with Florida.
Ooh, we should do an Ohio one. Yeah.
I feel Florida, I mean, they definitely have a bad rap, but it's kind of rightfully deserved, in my opinion. I'll take the hit for that if need be. But a lot of stuff comes out of Florida with dumb criminals.
A lot of stuff comes out of Texas too. So we're really not any better.
No, because when I'm putting together those episodes, it's always a couple of Florida people, always a couple of Texas and Ohio, and like maybe California sprinkled in here or there, but you can always count on seeing Florida, Texas, and Ohio in a Dumb Criminals episode.
Love that. Nothing but consistency there. So I know I personally will be waiting for an update on Ryan and Ryan's story. So again, I urge everybody who's watching and listening, tonight or on replay, if you couldn't catch this live, this is a case where you think you know it because you've seen a viral clip. There's so much to it. Again, listen to these episodes that they've done on this case and then realize you know nothing about it. And you're going to be absolutely infuriated. So, I mean, I look forward to any episodes and updates that you guys have on this because, when I was at Beyond the Crime listening to you guys tell it, I was just in awe. I'm thinking, oh, I know this case. And then the more you spoke, I'm like, what the heck?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're actually still learning things, not daily, but constantly. We're still learning new things. So yeah, we'll have a bunch to share.
Are there any upcoming events that people can kind of keep in mind that you guys might be at? I was hoping to get you at Crime Story Fest, but I don't know.
I really wanted to do that. Just
Salem is calling you back.
See, I go back to Salem. I'm never gonna leave. That's a problem. But it's because of things that we can't really talk about. It's been harder for us to make solid commitments that far in the future. So we're keeping
our schedules will look like. Yeah.
We have no idea what our schedules are going to look like, but we're keeping options open. Well, hey, since I did say at the very beginning that Gina's, big goal was going to CrimeCon, one thing we do get to look forward to is next week. Yeah, next week we're getting Billy tattooed on us.
We are.
I was going to ask. You beat me to it. I was going to ask. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting.
Yeah.
Are you guys getting it like in the same spot or different spots?
I think the same spot.
I think unless we get there and I'm like, we change our minds. Cause I mean, we've gotten going back to how long Gina and I have known each other. We've got many matching tattoos. Yay, Billy! It's finally happening, Kylie. I cannot wait. We've gone, on a whim.
This will be our third.
Let's go get a tattoo. Yeah,
this will be our third matching tattoo. But so we are, as you know, very different people aesthetically, as you can tell. So we have 4.
You got the penguin on your foot. Well, I got the ducks.
Oh yeah.
Then we got
We're
the
so
moon.
old. We're so old, Amber.
Yeah, turning 40 hit me like a truck.
I know. But we're very different aesthetically. So we're gonna go get the same Billy outline, and then we're gonna pick another goal. And when we get to our next goal, we're going to upgrade him, but like with our own spin.
Personalize him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like my Billy will probably look much like, your shirt that you're wearing, like with the bats and the spooky and whatnot. And Gina's going to have plants and happy, light, bright things.
Yeah, more than likely.
I love that. We'll calm down. Dani needs a Mr. Beckham tattoo. Oh, no, Gina and Amber, you guys, as much as I'm like, oh, I wish you could have met Beckham. You've been spared from meeting Mr. Beckham. It's like Kylie can attest. She met him last year. Rachel and Heather met him. Stephanie met him. It's Dr. Maggie was his therapist for quite a bit. So it's a whole thing. So Wolf, we don't need that type of negative energy here. So was there there anything for each of you that I didn't ask that you want to get across, whether it's in regards to your podcast or about yourselves?
I think we kind of touched on it. I mean, we talked a lot about, we do advocacy work. That's kind of our bread and butter. But one thing that sets us apart from a lot of other content creators, and I know like we've mentioned it with the dumb criminals and everything, is that we don't just do the heavy stuff. So every other Wednesday we have a series called WTF Wednesday. You can figure out what that stands for, where we do the dumb criminals, the lighter side of stuff. We've talked about like the history of 911, how 911 came into be, and then we'll, read out funny 911 calls. So we've also got a series where we've talked about called What They Faced. John name drop John Jones, yeah, in Nutty Putty Cave, the man who went cave spelunking, and he unfortunately perished in there. So we told about his story, kind of more like survivor stories, like somebody who went through this and this is what they faced. So yeah, we're a little bit different, where we've got like it gets so heavy talking about the worst day of somebody's life, and it's harder because we're so into it. It's harder for us to separate that. Like we still like like I said, I carry Ryan with me every day. And sometimes it's good to sit back and laugh at the plethora of stupidity in the crime world, because I know one of my favorite ones, and I said this a lot at CrimeCon, one of my favorite dumb criminals that we've ever talked about was these two guys who decided to rob a convenience store. Burglary 101, you want to conceal your identity, right? Well, these yahoos, their idea of concealing their identity was taking a Sharpie and drawing a Batman mask on their face like a toddler did it. Like, we're not talking good and full and like filled in. Like my toddler would have done a better job at that, honestly. So one of the things that I say a lot is comedy is cheaper than therapy, and getting to laugh at the stupidity of others is kind of a little emotional break here and there for the heavies. Because, sometimes you may not be in a place mentally where you can consume something so serious. So, hey, laugh at a bunch of dumbasses with us.
Love it. Love it. What about you, Gina? Anything that we didn't touch upon that you want the viewers to know?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much talked about all of it. And I just want to say I'm pretty famous for my negative self-talk, but sitting here, I don't know, I'm pretty dang proud of where this podcast has come, like where we are now, and the fact that we do stand out and we can be more than one thing, and people still come back for more, and that we can offer something, a little bit of something to everyone, but we can still do it in an ethical way where at the end of the day, we can feel like good about the content that we're putting out there. So yeah.
No, you both should be like, I mean, I'm so proud of you as a friend and as a fellow content creator. And okay, Kylie's weighing in too. You should be so proud. Y'all are amazing. I mean, I feel like we've been best friends for 20 years, even though I just met you.
I know.
Relatively recently at the True Crime Podcast Festival. And in that short time, I've seen you guys like take your podcast to the next level, and just in that short time. And you guys should be proud of yourselves. You guys do an excellent job, and having the families behind you and have that faith in you and trust in you to tell their loved one's story and do it the justice it deserves, it speaks for itself.
Thanks, Dani.
So we also have somebody who I don't know who this is, but welcome. SRome7117. Love this live. Y'all are amazing. And they added, yay, Billy tattoos.
So that is Sarah. I've known Sarah since kindergarten. So she's the only person that I've known longer than Amber.
Well, hello, Sarah. Welcome. They are amazing. They are amazing. And you have a good choice in friends, clearly. So, so before we head out for the evening, where can people find you? Social media, all of the things. Where can people find you?
I mean, we're everywhere. So we're on every podcast platform, and you can hear audio versions of our episodes on YouTube. We don't do video yet. We will one day. Amber's like, don't even get me started. I know if our friend from CrimeCon that came up and talked to us like 3 times has anything to say about it. We're everywhere. We're also on Instagram, is the main place I hang out because it's my favorite. So we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have a pretty big following on Facebook as well. Big for us.
For us, it's big.
But yeah, you can find us anywhere, really.
All right. Beckham is saying, hope you make it out to Boston.
Another one.
He's from Texas too.
Hey.
Yeah, Beckham from Texas. So yeah, he's flying in for Beyond the Crime. Not Beyond the Crime. For Crime Story
Fest. It might happen. So we put in an application for Aesthetica Film Festival, which is in York, London, like outside of London.
And I completely forgot about that.
And it's at the beginning of November. You forgot about it because we haven't found out yet whether we get a table. But we were shortlisted for Best Episodic Podcast for the CrimeCon UK Awards. And because of that, we got reached out to about a lot of different stuff. But we were invited to apply for an exhibitor booth at Aesthetica Film Festival, which is this film festival that's like BAFTA affiliated, that's I think been around for like 16 or 17 years.
Wow.
But we applied because it wasn't a high application fee. And I was like, okay, Corey, I'm going to apply for this. And if we somehow magically get a table, I hope you know we're going to London in November.
This is news to me, by the way.
Yeah. Because, you know,
well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. That would be cool. That would be really, really cool. I mean, I'd be like, oh, you really, Boston's so close, but that's okay. No, fingers crossed that you guys get to have that opportunity. That'd be neat. So, ladies, what is something I ask all of my guests? It is the most important question, I feel, of the interview. You girls know me, let's be honest. I'm a big pet person. Got one of my cats right there. My audience is a very pet-friendly community. Do either of you have any pets? And if so, what pets do you
have? Yes, I've got multiple pets in my house. I've got a derpy German Shepherd named Ripley. Shout out to any Alien fans out there. Also, what a lot of people don't know about me is I'm a big reptile lover. And I have 5 ball pythons named Riddick, Xander, Dominic, Sinoa, and Lilith. Oh, Rogue. Lilith, our other snake, recently passed away. So we had 6, now we have 5.
Yeah. And she got the snakes to overcome her fear of snakes.
Yep.
So
I was terrified of snakes. My mom, one of my cousins, had a huge snake. I want to say he was either a boa or a Burmese python. He walked in, or my mother walked into the room holding this snake, and I just about climbed out of the window to get away. I was so terrified. And like, why are we afraid of things? We're afraid of things mostly because we just don't know anything about it. It's unknown, it's uncomfortable. So I started doing research and reading about these animals and how absolutely cool they are. They live for a long time. They're pretty low maintenance. They don't smell. They don't make a bunch of noise, and they don't need constant interaction. Like my 80-pound German Shepherd is like a Chihuahua most of the time. And I'm like, girl, you are way too big to be up in my face like this. But the snakes, I can take them out when I want to. They just chill there, or I can put them up and, we look and we're buddies. We're good. We're fine.
Okay. You are the first guest that I've had that had a snake, let alone 5.
Yeah.
She went all in. She really did.
It was like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. I got one and I'm like, damn, this is a really cool snake too. I want that one. Now I got to have this one. Well, I got to get that one a friend.
Not
Kylie, not Amber convincing me I need a snake. when you started saying about like, why, fear and this and that, I'm like, oh God, did you get a therapy lesson from Dr. Maggie at CrimeCon? I thought we were going down that path. But
she really made you feel that.
We've all got therapy lessons from Dr. Maggie at CrimeCon, let's be honest. Okay, wow, a Dani After Dark first there. Gina, can you top that?
I know. So I would rescue every dog that I could, if I could. We have 2 rescue dogs right now. We had 3. Unfortunately, we had to put him down in February due to he got injured during an ice storm and it snowballed, and it was just, it wasn't good. But we have 2 rescue dogs. One is Pickle. She's 12. I got her when she is a potato. I got her when she was about 8. She came from, we're pretty sure, like an abusive situation. And she had been left outside for months because her owners were building a house on property and they were living in like an RV. And so they just made her live outside. And she got attacked by a porcupine. And instead of helping her, they surrendered her. So she, there's a neighborhood near us that has, let's see, hush, that has, little helicopters. So, or not helicopters, little planes. So they have like a place to like land and take off in their neighborhood. So Pickle got brought in from West Texas on one of these little planes. And we went and met her and brought her home. She was a foster fail. She got attached to me immediately. And I was like, she's already been through so much. I cannot make her go start over somewhere else again. And so we kept her. She is blind as a bat and a potato for sure. And then we have Data, who's a 10-year-old like terrier mix. And just, he's the one that's in here making all kinds of noise because he's also attached to me. And I would have all the dogs I could if it was up to me, which is why I'm not allowed to look at rescue sites. I'm not allowed to go to the rescues. I can't even look because I will bring one home.
Yeah, she's also the reason why I brought home a dog years ago that I had no plan or intention of bringing home, but he became my soul dog. I did the same thing to my
parents.
Yeah. He was my soul dog.
That's
why I said no more dogs after he passed away. Like, no, I'm done with pets. And then of course Ripley popped up and it's like, okay, well, here we go.
It's hard to say no.
It's hard to say no.
Yeah. Says the girl right now with 11 cats.
11 cats.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why it's so hard to say. No idea.
Not relatable.
What do you mean?
Well, thank you both so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. It's always a good time when I get to hang out and chat with you. And I'm hoping everybody who is either, again, able to watch or listen tonight or even on replay, if you have not checked out Weird True Crime Podcast, check it out. These ladies are doing big things. It's only up from here, and be a part of that ride with them. They deserve it. They work really hard. So
thanks.
All of their information is in the drop-down bar below. Yes, Gina, I did make you say it all, even though I put it right there below for everybody, but that's okay. Thank you both again for joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining live. And everybody, remember, until next time, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.